You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject I've got coming up for you, he's called Tony Kakko, or Kekko. I'm sorry, Tony, if you're listening. I should have asked you during the call, actually, what the Finnish pronunciation of your surname was, but either way, Tony is a member of Sonata Arctica. And the reason for the chat, well, that's to talk up the brand new album, an album that I'm of course going to mispronounce here, even though I did ask him through the conversation how to pronounce it, but here I go. Talvior, I think it is, Talviy, and then there's those two umlaut things over the O. And that'll be out later on in the year sometime. Okay, so it'll be out within a month or two's time, given that today's date is the 12th of August 2019. It's pretty good stuff, even if you don't like power metal or that traditional heavy metal style stuff. Everything that Sonata Arctica have done has had enough for the casual metal or rock fan to remain interested in their music. That's my opinion anyway. Really enjoyed this conversation too with Tony. Occasionally these things happen where we just start talking about life and all the rest of it. Of course we talk about the music and the new album, but this is one of those free-flowing conversations that I just enjoy having, and truth be told, I'll probably have even more of them moving forward because we're all people and we all like talking about regular people things aside from the music. So anyway, here we go. Here he is, Tony from the band Sonata Arctica. Good, mate. Meaning we can have a chat now. There you go.
Hello.
What's been happening?
Hold on. There's something wrong with something. I can't hear you.
All right.
Ah. 1 second. Now, can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, something went wrong with something. I had muted you. So, anyways, how are you?
Technology. I'm good, but it's technology. There's always something bloody going on with technology. You know that. You're on stage
Yes.
often enough, and everything not working one night. You know.
Yes, that's frequent. But hopefully, it's always something that you can live with. But sometimes it's.
Look,
it's not, unfortunately, but yeah.
I'm a musician too, and I play covers, and I've learned to bring. Let me tell you something. I've learned to bring two of everything, and I'd bring three of everything if I had a choice. I've got to tell you, I definitely bring three guitars along, because I've had two fail in one night, which thought, if the backup fails, what are you going to do? Not play? No, you bring a third. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've got to do this.
Right.
But
you know how it is.
I do, but tell me before we kick things off properly, mate. How do I pronounce the name of the album?
Talviyö. It's probably too difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, talvi is a word meaning winter, and yö is night. So it's winter night in English.
Okay, gotcha.
A Finnish word, yeah.
A Finnish word. First question for you, then proper. What do you think? Because I spoke to Tarja the other night. What do you think so many great heavy metal bands come out of Finland? What's in the water, or more to the point, in the ice up there?
I think it's something to do with the melancholic mindset that Finnish people tend to have. Really, we enjoy melancholic music, and then it's some kind of Slavic thing, I suppose, that we got from the east, somewhere Russia and such. So, and it of course it fits really well with the metal music, which is sort of dark and so forth, many times anyways. So it streams right in. But why do we have so many bands? I don't know. Maybe it's the long winters and we have nothing to do, stereotypically, although we do, of course. But
yeah,
it's a thing that I would bottle it and sell it if I could.
Yeah, it's a lot like that, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes I think, see, even in Australia, it's a bit of a tangent, but our sporting success isn't that great lately, but through the 60s, 70s, 80s and the 90s, we did really well as a nation, competing against the US and the serious European nations that have got like 3 and 4 times the amount of people at what Australia's got. But I just sort of feel like lately we've gone off the boil a bit. And what I put that down to, a lot of it, is that people are realising all of the wonderful things you can do in Australia outside. So people aren't focusing so much on academic and sporting disciplines as much as what they used to, because there's so much more opportunity now courtesy of the internet. And do you find that with Finland insofar as the music, that a lot of the bands that were really bigger like yourself and Tarja, who have been around for 20 or 30 years or thereabouts, are there new bands coming through that are keeping the flame alive there?
Well, we have new bands, but we've sort of missed this wave of really young bands, like kids on their 20s, kids, quote unquote, like what we have with Nightwish, and Children of Bodom and us, for example, and him, and then a lot of these bands. It was a wave of bands that just came in within 5 years or so, and we haven't had that in the longest time. And I was worried in one point that what's going to happen with Finnish rock metal scene at all. But lately we've had Beast in Black and Battle Beast that are sort of waving the flag around. So that at least it is. But we haven't had before them. We haven't had any bands that would have been internationally like really, really successful. But it looks really good with these two bands that they might actually make it there.
Well, you guys are still riding high. I mean, this new album, I've listened to you guys a little bit over the years, it's fair to say. Power metal isn't exactly my thing. Or, I don't mean to pigeonhole you directly as a power metal band, but you know what I'm saying. You fall into that traditional heavy metal category. Yeah. But you're very bloody good at it, and you've always been good at it ever since Ecliptica. And I remember reading all about that album in Metal Maniacs. Remember that print magazine from the US that used to be out back in the day? I remember
I do.
reading about one of the authors there, one of the writers there, gushing over it, and then there was Silence that came out after that. So I remember back in those days when I was still really heavily invested in discovering new bands, because I'm in my 40s these days. I'm not saying my tastes are set, but it's a lot harder for me to get into new things organically. I tend to get sent a lot of things and get into them that way. But I remembered reading about you guys and being really intrigued, because that was the era, and I've spoken to a lot of musicians about this, this was the era that heavy metal started coming out of the shadows. I spoke to Joachim recently from Hammerfall about it. And I imagine the same thing happened to you guys when you started way back with Ecliptica. Did people think that you were crazy for playing traditional metal back at a time when Limp Bizkit and Korn and Deftones were ruling the airwaves, and heavy metal really, this is an era, remember, that bands were like Megadeth and Metallica, I think Iron Maiden always stayed the course, but they were ditching their logos. So did the stylized logos they always had. Did you ever feel a bit on the outer when you first started? And did you think that, for example, you'd be here 20 years later talking to a fella from Australia all about it?
Well, we were a demo band and sort of an apple that was picked from the tree as a raw thing. We didn't have any hopes or dreams becoming a professional musician, let alone having a career of 20 years. So we were just, following the tracks of Stratovarius, which were like our biggest idols at the time. And we were just doing what we loved doing, playing melodic power metal. And it was a short period that I was actually listening to that kind of music, but it was fruitful. We started this band and became what we are with that style, and we were doing really well. And I didn't think that it would have been crazy. Nobody criticized us, because in Finland metal music was on a rise. It was a big thing already in the turn of the century there, millennium, and we got up there really, really fast. Getting fame in Finland and selling tons of albums in Japan being sort of the biggest thing to come, and it felt like, why could not this thing happen all over the world? It felt really, really, really good, and no criticism, just praises, and we got a really flying start. So I don't know, I didn't experience it that way anyways. And you asked that, did I dream of this? Sort of talking to anybody about my music 20 years later? No, of course not. It was just, one album at a time, and I'm still really happy to be able to make one more album and one more album. The coming of age. I'm 44 myself, so you start to, at some point, you start to think that anything and everything you do might be the last time. Going on tour in North America next month, and I'm trying to take the best out of it, and thinking that this might just as well be the last time, because of a number of reasons. Of course, it might be that it's not financially liable anymore to go there, or then I might die. Who knows?
I hope not. But you're right. It's all there, maybe. Hilarious, yeah. But you've got,
Yeah, but anything.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the potential to do. I know you've done some solo-related stuff though, but do you think that's on the agenda, regardless of whether or not Sonata Arctica keeps on going or not? Do you think you'll do more solo stuff?
Yes, I will. I have like maybe two albums of like two album worth of album songs
Yeah.
ready. Just missing the lyrics. I need to. I have a concept and an idea that I want to build it around, and I just hope that I have the energy and time to get around doing it. But I've managed during the last 2 years. I've been writing the songs, and I love them. It's in a healthy way. It's really different from Sonata Arctica. Albeit I actually stole once again a song from my solo project for Sonata Arctica. Who Failed the Most was one of the songs that I had on my like side project thing.
Yep.
And it was a slower version of that song, and it was really good. But I felt that the project doesn't need it. It's by no means the best song that I have there.
Okay. Yep.
But it really got live with Sonata Arctica. It's going to be one of the singles actually as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was watching that just before we got on the call. I was watching that video that you did using that Olympus equipment, where you put it up on YouTube, and you're playing an acoustic guitar, and it's almost got like a Southern blues boogie vibe to it. The music that you're playing, the art video that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Yes, of course.
I thought it was great. And it was really unexpected. And I'm a really big fan of musicians taking a 90-degree turn and experimenting and doing different things. Do you think you're going to do stuff more along that line, or was that a once-off?
Probably on my solo side project thing, I'm gonna do different kind of stuff, and even with Sonata Arctica, like spot type things. Even on this album, we have some moments that are really different. Like for example, the ending of "The Ravens Still Fly with You," which is like this ukulele rhythmic vocal thingy, which is very un-Sonata Arctica like, and I enjoy doing things that are not metal and might shock some people that expect certain things from Sonata Arctica, but I can't call myself a metalhead. I love music with good melodies and rhythmic parts, and fundamentally the things that make me feel something, make me laugh, surprise me in some way, and that's what I'm trying to create. And yeah, that Olympus advertisement thing, it was fun to do, and which reminds me that I owe people another one of the same type. I promised everybody that I would do another, and I haven't done that yet, so I got to get around it.
Well, you do take 90-degree turns, meaning that you do go in an adjacent direction to what people would anticipate. And you've done that a lot in the past, and people probably don't realise it, but you've covered a Mad Max song, which is a Tina Turner tune, We Don't Need Another Hero. Now, being Australian, that song was everywhere back in the day because, of course, Mad Max is set in Australia.
Yeah.
That song was everywhere back in the day. I remembered that. But how do you pick songs that you cover? Because that's fairly obscure, that one, really, for someone from Finland. I assume this is not a hit over there. But how do you find these songs? And you also did Lionel Richie songs, I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, that was Northern Kings. It was on Sonata Arctica that did those things. But I was singing there, yeah.
Yeah.
But just choosing songs that we like and get a certain feel from. Like for example, I can mention "I Can't Dance," the Genesis song.
Genesis, yeah.
I was just and the music video and everything that I actually made for it as well to sing the song, and it just started something that I was fooling around in shower. Always get the best ideas when you're in a place where you can't actually record it.
Yeah,
so I came out with this having like this horns playing the melody thing there, like the rhythmic part and everything. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be so great. And we should have seen the moment when I introduced the idea to the guys. It wasn't like the easiest process of getting their heads around the idea, but everybody seems to love the song, of course, now, and it's fun. It's a song that needs to have certain idea behind it, because we don't want to make a blueprint of the original. I think that it's not the point. It's not smart. Then the original is always much better. But if you come out with a version of the song that is healthily different, that is like a totally different song in sense that it's been arranged in a different genre, for example, then it has a point, and it has a potential to find a new audience for the song. And in that sense, even if a lot of the songwriters and musicians, they are really jealous of their work, but if a different idea, different approach of the song gives the song a new life, gives it an opportunity and a new audience, then why not? I've been jealous of Sonata Arctica songs, but I wouldn't mind having a big band covering a Sonata Arctica song sometime.
Yeah. It'd be good to see that, wouldn't it? The other thing about Talvio is the song titles. They're hilarious. Seriously, you got the usual song titles here, like Storm the Armada and The Raven Still Flies With You, stuff that I'd anticipate. But then you've got Who Failed the Most, and the classic Ismo's Got Good Reactors. What does that one mean? What does that one mean?
Well, there's a short story behind Ismo's Got Good Reactors. I was like 12, 13 years old, and my best friend's big brother, who was 7 years older than we were, he died like 8 years ago. And he was studying at the time when I was a kid to be a kindergarten teacher. And as a part of the education, the schooling that he had was to work with disabled kids and kids with developmental issues. So one time they went out on this retreat to an island with a boat with an outboard motor, the engine, and then they were standing there on a pier, and Mika, his name was Mika, not Ismo, by the way, and he was standing there on a pier and noticed that the motor was about to dip back in the water, and it was pretty shallow, so it would have probably hit the rocks, but he managed to save the motor and then lift it back up right on time. And then one of the kids standing there on the pier said, "Oh, Ismo's got good reactors," meaning, of course, that he's got great reflexes and reactions, but messes up the name and the word. But, it was so hilarious that it got stuck. Every time something like that, it's an everyday saying that I have these days. And then the bunch of people we have. Right. So every time something like that, someone manages to save the day or the moment at the last moment like that with great reflexes. Ismo's got good reactors moment, and
nice.
it's a wonderful way to remember a friend, past friend who had a great sense of humor as well. So.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really good explanation for that one there. That is what makes songs even more personal, even from a fan's perspective, because it comes from somewhere within you, your life and your world. I mean, we can make up song names that if they come from a direct experience, they generally tend to be the ones that are the most memorable ones. And I hope people hear this interview. If it's okay with you, I'll release it as a podcast episode, so as people can actually listen to your explanation behind that. But I mean, I listened to the song. And it's a good song. It's a good, catchy song. It's one of the shorter songs on the album. I think it's the shortest song on the album. So it's actually one of those cuts that actually could, you could make a YouTube clip for, or fans could make a YouTube clip for, and it could get out there. But I mean, it's the fan side of things. You must get a lot of communication over social media from fans asking, particularly when you're going to tour certain places. So do you get a lot of contact from Australian fans asking you when you're going to come down here again?
Frequently, yeah. Every now and again, but we've been there only once.
Yeah.
Was it like 2009, 10?
Yeah, I think so.
Turn of it's around New Year's. So people ask, not every day, but like monthly, you get like a couple of people asking, when you're coming to Australia? Big fan and so forth. And so I'm happy to say that we are planning a tour to come to Australia right now at the moment. But that's going to be a little more than a year from now anyways. And I hope to tell you some good news still this year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm keeping my fingers crossed big time to make it happen.
Well, that's going to be music to people's ears. We get a lot of bands touring down here, so there's a little bit of fatigue, I think, associated with it. Insofar as, I promise you, mate, there's like a great band touring every week from either Europe or the US. I don't know what's happened in the last 2 years or so, but I think we're a bankable market or something like that. But that's good news for you guys who don't tour that often. Australia, that is.
Yeah,
when absolutely. You do come down, a bit like when Helveti toured, you get a big response.
Yeah, it's a good thing. But, us being there every year, I'm sure it wouldn't be quite the same experience. Of course, but for us, it's a lot of tourism. I hope to see some new cities that we haven't been to, maybe more than just Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane that we've visited so far. A couple of more cities would be nice, and having maybe a day off, to enjoy.
Oh God, yeah, get a day
Australia,
off.
yeah.
I speak to far too many bands who come down here on a whirlwind tour, and you're in and out before you even know you've been here. And yeah, if you can avoid it, I get that everything's a commercial concern, and you guys have got to make money and make sure that shows are profitable, and the promoter's got to be a good promoter and all that sort of stuff. But Soundworks are very good I don't know who you're talking to, but Dicey and the guys at Soundworks are fantastic in terms of, because they're from Perth, so they can actually get you over to some of those places as well, I think more readily than some of the East Coast-based touring companies. But anyway, I digress. That sort of hints at something else, though, the business side of it. And I do like talking to artists about the business side of it. But any job is difficult, okay? But the music industry is bloody difficult, really hard to be successful in the first place and to maintain that success. So you guys have had success, and you're keeping that success, and you're creatively very fertile. In other words, you've got a lot of irons in the fire that we've already spoken about. But what do you put down your success to?
I suppose, finding the right amount of people and at every certain moment in time, because we have changed stylistically along the years, and because of that, we have a pretty wide fan base as well. The people who listen to Sonata Arctica, they are not all power metal people, but they are like also from pop side of things and rock music fans, and we have really wide age span in the fan base, that we have tiny kids who really love Sonata Arctica, and then really, really old people as well, and everything in between. And that's the wonderful thing. It's like 3 generations of Sonata Arctica fans that you can sometimes see in the audience and meet, and it's really heartwarming as well. And I think the thing is that we've never been really extreme to any direction. We are, even when we were sort of power metal thing, we weren't the most extreme and the purest form of power metal, but rather flirting with rock music and pop music all the time. And it was it was just tasting like power metal, but it really wasn't purely power metal. But maybe some songs, of course, and it's there, and we're never denying, and it's still there. As a testament, you can say that the first song on Talvi Yö is a power metal song, Message from the Sun, and so on. And it's a nice thing that you can say that you have something from every album that you've created on your career, on your latest album, and that's what you're having certain consistency. I say, and at the same time realize that we've been adventuring quite a bit in our times, but it's all been in the vein, like songwriting wise. We have had melodic songs that people can relate to, sort of, and I don't know, it's difficult. Well, but I hope it's.
You can always tell it's you guys. You can always. I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, I might not be as familiar with your catalogue as I might be with, say, Megadeth, for example, but I could always tell when it was Sonata Arctica. And the other thing you guys have always done is done really good artwork too, meaningful artwork. You spent a lot of time on that, I could tell. So you've done all of that. You're actually the complete package, really, when I look at it, the whole thing. There's not really an aspect of the band which is not as strong as another aspect, so to speak. That old saying that you're only as strong as your weakest link. I don't really think you guys have got a weak link in that regard, because I think you do so much, and because you're such a presence as a vocalist, and there's a lot of your videos out there on YouTube, there's a lot for people to wrap their heads around, and people love that. So, yeah, good luck to you, mate. Congratulations on everything, and I really hope this new album does for you what you want it to do for you, and that you don't die. And
well, me too. Thank you very much.
and we see you down here within 12 months or thereabouts. But thanks for making the music you've made, brother.
Absolutely. It would be alarming to say that. I really hope that you die.
just for alluding to the comment we made earlier. You're talking about dying and stuff.
An awful person. I hope you die. Oh, thanks.
Well, we can have a laugh at these things, can't we? Because, you're in planes all the time, but I had a horrendous flight down to Sydney couple of weeks back, and my daughter vomited everywhere and stuff. And
oh,
you must cop that. You must cop some severe turbulence in aeroplanes when you think, is this it? You know, like maybe not, but you have these moments where you think, what the hell's going on? What the hell? What am I going to do when I survive this? Have a beer?
Of course,
I'll have a beer.
Back in the day, before I had any kids, it was like going into some extreme ride on some fair somewhere and having just fun. Having a turbulence was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't, think if I die, oopsie daisy, what can I do? But nowadays you really get worried. But what's going to happen with the kids if I
exactly. Yeah, I don't
crash down and I shouldn't even talk about this.
Yeah. Oh, look, I don't dive or go on those bloody awful carnival rides anymore either. For that reason, because I got two girls and I don't do it.
Yeah, I get obnoxious even seeing people, in a merry-go-round. It's weird.
Oh, they're horrible things. A lot of those carnival atmosphere rides and stuff that are done by like pretty, I don't know, you're making a judgment here, but they look like pretty dodgy operators, don't they? And you think, I'm going to let my kids go onto that fair. Have you seen those videos on Live Leak where they're in India and those carnival rides crash into the ground? And
I've seen some.
You know what I mean? You've seen the viral videos, you see them, but a lot of them go on Live Leak, and you're like, holy shit, I'm not going to go on one of those things ever again. There's just no way. They're horrendous.
Yeah, well, you really hope that things are done better in your own country, but they never can be sure.
You never
of course,
know.
nobody wants to die or kill anybody in India either. So
yeah, that's what I think. Poor bastards have just gone to a fun, I don't know what you'd call it, a fair or a county fair or whatever.
Yeah.
Just for a fun day, and they don't come back. It happened here, mate, on the Gold Coast. In our biggest theme park, 2 or 3 years back, people died, and it was horrendous.
Jesus,
just down the road from me. Yeah, it was really. I'll let you read up on about how they died. It was horrible, but you think, Jesus, I mean, these people just go out for a fun day with family and they don't come back. And sorry, I know it's a bit of a morbid conversation, but still, I mean, you've got to be. Isn't it interesting? Like someone like you become a musician, and you're grateful for that. Obviously, you're grateful for that. You've just got to lead your life the way you want to lead it, and then let Providence do what it's going to do in the meantime, because you can't control fate.
Yeah, karma sort of thing. Try to do good things and hope that good things will come back to you.
Yeah, that's right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's all you can, but mate. I think that's all you can do. Just even if people are being arseholes to you, as no doubt being in the music industry, you've experienced many times. People are difficult to you and don't pay you. I mean, you can't pass that on to somebody else, can you? You've just got to suck it in.
No, not really.
Yeah, and just sort of.
And remember the name. That's the thing. Never work with that person again. It's karma is a bitch sometimes. Sometimes you've done something that you shouldn't, and then some shit happens to you, and
but we'll make
okay,
mistakes.
that was a payback for something, Yeah, but I have this thing called lining karma. Like whenever I go in a passport line or in the store somewhere, I stand in a line. The line hangs. There's something wrong with somebody somewhere along the line before me, and it's never me, but something happened, and I'm the last out of the store, or passport control or whatever. I'm the last. It happened. It has gone to a point where it's almost as a joke. Like none of the band members come in the same line with me, or if I come in the same line with them, they change, because it always happens. It's like 90% of the time that happens. But I've learned to kind of divert the bad thoughts in a way that something really good's going to happen to me after all this lining. I've been lining for a month, every day doing something, and something goes wrong with the line, and eventually something good will always happen, and I kind of credit the whole thing to the lining.
To the lining, the karmic lining. Actually, have you guys done a lot of touring through Asia yet? So I know Japan obviously go there, but if you
not lately, but the Japan is in making as well, same as with Australia. They haven't been there in years.
Well, my point was
back in the day we were.
My point was going to be that with the exception of Singapore and Japan, and maybe Hong Kong as well, airports in Asia are horrendous. Meaning that there's no lineups, everybody just pushes and shoves. My wife's half Filipino, so we go over there quite a bit, and we've got kids, and we try to get the kids on early. But people, how they say, let kids on early? People don't give a shit. So they're just shoving us out of the way to get on the flight. And I'm like, we'll go on last. And, because my wife's a bloody, she's one of these bag women who brings 10 bags with her on a flight, which is unnecessary. and I'm just like, can you fucking put the bloody bag? Just don't bring the bags. You're around people who don't care and they're sniffling and, we're going to get sick from just touching our own bags and stuff. In other words, she's exposing us to all this risk that is unnecessary, and then we get onto the plane last when we're in the Philippines and parts of Asia, and I think, man, I don't want to do this anymore. It's when I'm travelling by myself, it's fairly easy because I just sort of hang back and I only ever really have luggage I stick underneath the front of the chair in front. I never put it up top.
Yeah, right.
So is that what you got? Do you guys have those little tricks of trade when you're doing all of the tours that you're doing?
Yes, of course. With my suitcases, for example, I always put some, attention tape, like red tape or something, on the handles, or something, so you can always tell that it's your suitcase. And same applies also with your hand luggage that we have. That's one thing, that you should make your own luggage stand out from 1 or 10 or 100 same type of things, especially when you lose your luggage. You start searching for it, and you need to make an application, so that you hope to get it back. They ask what your suitcase is like, and I've been saved by many times. It's a yellow suitcase with some red duct tape, or like attention color tape here in the handle, and they spot it right away from the 10 other yellow suitcases that are there. They don't have to even go through the checking process anymore, and that's one thing. And of course, nobody stands in the same line with me. That's a trade that the rest of the guys have learned.
Yeah, no, it's like that. The line thing, you're actually bang on point, because sometimes you're in lines, and I tend to go on the full moon thing. And interesting, we're 3 days away from a full moon. My wife told me just before I got on the call. And I thought, because people do go crazy. I don't know whether you've noticed this in airports and stuff, but talk to rail, people who look after railways, like, the transit officers that check tickets and make sure nobody's being a dickhead on trains. They'll tell you, as they've told me, that a full moon brings the idiots out, whether they're drunk or high or just morons or what have you. They come out and they do things like try to climb out of windows of moving trains for no reason. They try to open the doors of the carriage when the train's still moving and do those videos where they jump out when the train's still moving and they end up hitting their heads on, just concrete and stuff. And it's like, why do this stuff? God. Why bother?
It's a real thing, it happens, I think it's a universal thing, and there's something fundamentally wrong with the wiring that we have, or some people have.
We're not any different, are we, to each other? We're human beings. We're weird, aren't we? We're a funny animal. We've got all this sentient consciousness and this apparent intelligence that has allowed us to evolve beyond our primate state. But we're not really any better than primates. We're really just primates.
Yeah, it's just, carbohydrate, water, and some electronic signals going through. And, that's probably what fucks us up.
It does.
Electricity.
Add bloody religion to the mixed meat, and all of a sudden you've got where we are, It's, we could solve all the world's problems if somebody gave us enough pints to do it. I always say that. Give us enough beers and we'll solve all of the world's problems. And if only people would listen to us, then we'd have all of the world's problems solved, But it's been great chatting to you, mate. Congratulations on everything you said before, and good luck with the tour and the interviews and everything else.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
No worries, mate.
Hope to see you in Australia soon.
Absolutely, hope so. Fingers crossed on that one, big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thanks very much.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that, of course, syndicates for the A-List Online, your new favourite website. Go and check it out at thealistonline.net. Yes, that's it, .net. There's no .au afterwards. It's just .net. And check out interviews and features and indeed podcast episodes with all of these wonderful artists that you enjoy listening to me talk to. That was one of them. That was Tony Kakko from the Finnish outfit Sonata Arctica. Hope you enjoyed that. Tune in again sometime soon. Have a good one. Bye.